On the battlefield, dwarves are known for their stubborn courage, fighting on foot in close formations, clad in finely crafted mail and armed with superbly forged hammers and axes. They are the most resolute and determined of warriors. Hello, and in our video today we'll be painting a Dwarven Warrior champion in the colours of Karaza Karak, the greatest dwarven hold, clad in rich blue and gold. The paints we'll be using are on the screen now. Pause the video if you need a bit more time. We also have a list of the additional equipment we've used, but you can use any brushes that suit you better, and you can change the medium out with water instead. If you're new to painting or want to brush up on your skills, you can check out the Citadel Colour Painting Essentials playlist to learn all about paints and techniques. For these colours, I'll undercoat my dwarf in Chaos Black, so we get some nice dark shadows straight away. The great thing about this simple guide is that you can use these paints as steps for the rest of your army, and it's done super quick. First off, we'll base coat the tunic on the arms and near the feet with Kantor Blue with a small base brush, getting a couple of coats down to get a solid rich blue tone. We'll also use this for the helmet and shield base, so don't worry if you make a bit of a mess, as we'll be using some metallics later on to cover those. Next, we'll use Doomball Brown for a rich and slightly warm leather colour for the cloak, leather edge on the chainmail and any straps and boots. Over the black undercoat, this should cover with a couple of coats, but seeing it's a layer paint, you might find that you need a third coat in some flatter and wider areas. Now we have the two darker colours down, we'll be moving to painting the skin. Now we'll use Cadian Flesh Tone and a small layer brush for the hands and the face where visible. We'll need 3 coats of this colour over the black undercoat, as it's a much lighter and thinner colour. So just take your time and make sure that each layer is dry before adding the next. Seeing you'll have a lot of dwarfs in your army, you can use Bugman's Glow, Blood Reaver Flesh or Night Questor Flesh for some different ruddy tones. With the skin dry, we can quickly paint the hammer shaft and the eyes. We're already using a small layer brush, which is perfect for such a small detail. Just make sure the tip of the brush is pointed by rolling it on the palette and that the paint flows off the brush without drying too quickly. Then we can just be careful by adding a few small lines to build up the colour without creating too much mess. But you can always tidy up with some Cadian Flesh Tone once the black is dry. Then we can paint the champion's large beard and hair with Zandri Dust and a medium layer brush. Just be careful of the other details we just painted. Seeing that he has a big beard, we could get any of this colour on pretty much anything else. But you can always tidy up if you do get any of this colour on anything. Now we can add some metallics on our Mountain Hold champion. For the chainmail, hammerhead, helmet wings and vamp bracers, we'll use Leadbelcher. Some of the chainmail may be trickier to get to due to the beard and the leather edge surrounding it, but you can always tidy up once fully applied. And if you're using this guide for the rest of your warriors, you can use this for axes, blades and even horns. Now we can add our gold details. And for the gold, we'll be using Retributor armour for the shield front and edge, the helmet wings and trim. We'll also use this for any icons and beard rings. Just like with the Leadbelcher, we may smudge this onto the previously applied colours. So leave it to dry and finish with the layers, and then tidy up once they're all done. Before we move on, we'll change our paint water so it's nice and clean, as we'll be using some shades next. To shade the Doomball Brown and Zandri Dust details, we'll thin down 1 part Agrax Earthshade with 1 part Lahmian Medium. We'll apply it lightly on both colours, but we can always add another coat for the leather to add definition. We just want to make sure that we don't overload the details and cause any patches once it's dried, so soak up any excess shade that starts to pool. Now we can move on to shading the gold and the skin. We'll use Reichel and Flesh Shade for both these, but in 2 separate ways. For the gold, we'll just apply it normally, giving the recesses a nice darker tone. Just be careful of the other details like the beard. For the skin, we still want to be careful of the beard, but only this time we want to apply the shade into the recesses of the skin, so we don't fully shade over and make the skin stand out even more. If you think some of the shaded details look a little too dark once dried, you can always tidy up some areas with the colours that we used for base coating. And then for our last shade, we'll use Nuln Oil for the Leadbelcher and Kantor Blue details in a very similar way to our last shade. You can use a solid layer over the Leadbelcher details, and you can recess shade the Kantor Blue cloth, but you can shade it normally if you want to be quicker with your application, so you can paint even more of the unit. And with those shades, our Dwarven Warrior champion is now battle ready, and you can use these steps for even more models. Or you can keep watching to get a few extra steps down, so you can take your models to the next level in no time at all. We'll add some highlights to the metallics to make them stand out. For this, we'll use Stormhost Silver and the small layer brush. Once we have our brush to a point by rolling it on the palette, we'll pick out the edges and raised areas with the side and the tip of the brush. By using the side of the brush on the edges, we can save a lot of time and get lots done in no time at all. You also don't have to paint every detail either. You can just pick out the most prominent and visible, like the hammerhead, shield and helmet. Especially seeing how short our champion is, there isn't actually that much to highlight. That one can go in the book of grudges. Next, we can highlight the brown leathers with Scrag Brown. Using the same techniques as we did with the Stormhost Silver, we can make those details stand out. I'll highlight all the brown details on this model though, but you can pick out what you like. Our champion is looking great, but we have one last detail to pick out. That last detail is picking out the skin of the face and hands with Kislev flesh. Just like with all the highlights, we just need to add a small amount of paint at a time, picking out the ridges of the nose and knuckles. Just take your time and you'll be done in no time at all. And there we are, a champion worthy of the mountain gods. And seeing those last steps didn't take too long, you'll have a whole battalion ready in no time. We just based him in a stony astrogranite, and you can learn more about basing your models in our videos all about it. For even more tutorials, tips and tricks, check out our videos on the Warhammer YouTube channel, or head to your local Warhammer store where our amazing staff would be happy to help. Well, we hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you next time. Bye bye!